What's up, Baron Carta Army? I hope you're all doing well. Now, some of you have been dropping me a few notes to ask me to do a bit of a tour of my studio and to walk through all the different gubbings that are in here that are used on various Baron Carta records. So I thought I'd grab my phone and engage shaky cam and just kind of wander around and share all of this stuff and how it plugs together. If you're a music nerd like I am, you might find it interesting. If you're not a music nerd like I am, it's probably going to be quite boring, if I'm being honest. So you might want to go and watch something else. But check it out. Alrighty, welcome to the Baron Carta studio. I'm going to go through this in no particular order and walk through what all this stuff is and how it works together. So we'll start here. This is the control surface that I use. This is actually three different things. This is a UF8 from SSL. This is another UF8 from SSL. And then this is a UC1. So the UF8's on either side. It's basically a mixing desk that I can use to interact with Pro Tools. I can, set kind of levels and panning and all that kind of stuff. Check that out. Isn't that fun? This thing in the middle, this is the UC1. This is incredible. This is basically one channel from an SSL mixing console that interacts with a plugin in Pro Tools or Cubase or whatever else, where you can do EQ and compression and gating and all that kind of stuff. It's really, really cool. It just means that you can interact with the mixing console as opposed to just moving buttons on a plugin, which is it really does change the dynamic of how you mix music. Now, I don't mix that Baron Carta music. I put together rough mixes that go out to Ralph and Morton, and then they also go out to Mark as well when he does the kind of the full mixing and production of the record. All right, so that's how I interact now. The other way in which I interact with everything is this, keyboard, mouse, and this is a trackpad. I actually use a trackpad and a mouse when interacting with Pro Tools. I just find it much easier to kind of get around, to go two-handed on it. Now over here, let me sit down for a second. This is an Apollo X8. This is a new edition. I actually just got this pretty recently. Historically, for the first two Baron Carta records, what I was actually doing for all the guitars and the bass when I recorded those is I was just taking the Axe effects and plugging it in directly over USB, and I'll get to that in a second. But this sounds so much better. So I just kind of got this plugged in right now, and the benefit of these Apollo X8s is that you can run channel strip emulation and plugin emulation with no latency whatsoever. It's pretty cool. Still kind of figuring out how all this stuff fits together. It interacts with this piece of software over here, which is the console, which kind of plugs into the Apollo range of devices as well. This space here is empty because I'm actually planning on buying a couple of other rack mount units that are going to go in here, but they're not in there yet. Now these speakers, these are the Yamaha HS something, maybe 8s. I can't remember what they are. I actually bought these years ago and they sound really great. But the key thing with these, because my studio here has got this kind of vaulted ceiling, which can be a bit of a pain in the backside. And one of the things you might notice here is that there's no soundproofing foam or anything up here. There's just the boss up there. He keeps an eye on everything. But I use this piece of software. Let me see if I can open it up. Called SoundID Reference. And what this does is I basically measured my room with this weird little microphone thing. So it figures out all the dimensions of my room, and then essentially this provides a flat frequency response. So it means that I can get a much better sounding, just sound in this room without having to put a whole load of soundproofing or, acoustic treatment bits and pieces up. So that's kind of how that works. Pretty cool. Now, this is the Axe FX3, and I love this. So the Axe FX3 is basically a device with hundreds of different guitar amps and guitar cabinets and effects pedals and all kinds of stuff in there. And it's with this that I can actually construct my guitar tones. So the Baron Carta guitar sound that I record with comes out of this. And that obviously is going into the Apollo X8 right now. And then I use a piece of software called Axe Edit, which looks a little bit like this, where I kind of construct my sound. And that's kind of how that plugs in as well. Pretty straightforward. I don't have a particularly complicated setup here. Now, what is plugged into this is the pedal board, which is all the way down here. Ignore my flip-flops. So this is the FC12.
And these are my different patches, you know, so I've got rhythm, lead, Angus, which is more of a British kind of AC/DC style sound, dual clean, which is the sound you'll hear at the beginning of Out of Time, Run Like Heck, this is the sound at the beginning of Relinar and some other songs, you know, guitar tuner. I've got like a wah here, volume pedal here as well. Actually, only one of these is plugged in right now. I need to get the volume plugged in. What I've got over here is the beginnings of a pedal board. I actually haven't ever really had a pedal board. I did when I started out playing music, but that was years back. So I've only got 2 in here. I'm actually going to buy a couple of others. This is the Schaefer replica. My buddy Tom Draper, who did solos on Ratlines as well as Lethality, he recommended this to me. And what this does is this actually emulates the sound of Angus Young's wireless pack. So they figured out that whenever Angus Young was plugged in and recording with a cable, it didn't sound as good as when he had his wireless pack in, and then it turned out that the wireless pack was creating that special AC/DC sound. This basically replicates it. It's a pretty incredible sounding thing. This is a freak out. I love this. This is a Digitech pedal that basically emulates feedback. So especially in Act 3, I use this because I wanted to really musically use some feedback to make it sound interesting. And I just can't get the volume up high enough in this room without blowing my ears out. So that's kind of as you can see, I haven't actually finished putting this together yet, but I'm buying a couple of other pedals that are going to go on that board as well, which you'll hear in future Baron Carta records. This little amalgamation of mess down here. So this is a Mac Studio, which I just got recently, which is, you know, the brains of the computer essentially. Ton of stuff plugged into this Thunderbolt ports and all kinds of stuff, which is I won't get into because it's boring. This is a Rupert Neve, a Rupert Neve, RDNI, I think it is, which is basically a direct interface box. I haven't actually used this yet because I was using essentially recording the clean guitar going into. I record the clean guitar as well as kind of my distorted guitar, you know, the dry signal from my guitar, so we can reamp. That's where you kind of add the distorted guitar sound later on. I was just taking that from the Axe Effects, and then Mark Minette, who's produced our new record, he recommended I get one of these because I'll get a much better signal out of that, so I got one of those. This is a Focusrite Claret, which I don't really use, honestly. Just some hard drives knocking around here as well. And then let's take a look at some of this other stuff. So this is my main rhythm guitar. This is what I use for all of the rhythms, pretty much, inside of the Baron Carta tunes. This is a LTD, which is from ESP EC1007 ET. Okay, I love this guitar. It's got an Evertune bridge down here. This is a 7-string guitar that's tuned to drop A, and it sounds amazing. I love the Evertune bridge because I hate tuning guitars because they're a pain in the bum. And then over here is some other guitars. This is not all of them, this is some of them. But the one that you can see here, this one here, this is my JP7 from Ernie Ball Music Man. And this is what I use for basically all of the, pretty much all of the leads in Baron Carta. And I actually tend to write all of this. Every Baron Carta song was written on that guitar. This over here is an SC608B from LTD, which is an 8-string, which I just got to kind of fiddle around with. I haven't really experimented with this very much. Over here, I don't know if you can see, it's a little dark down here. This is a Dingwall NG3, which is my bass that I've recorded all the bass on Baron Carta records on. Again, drop A for that. This is my old bass guitar, which is a Schecter Custom 5, which is a great guitar, but I just got it around for no real reason. Honestly, I don't really play it. This is an old nylon string guitar, which has only got 5 strings. And then this is my Schecter Diamond Series Hellraiser, which you can't really see, which I used to play in my previous band, Severed Fifth. And then I have another guitar, which isn't here right now because it's downstairs, which is what I use for all the acoustics, which is a Taylor something or other. I can't remember what it is, honestly. Now, over here, this is the drums. So this is a Roland V-Drums TD17. Just a little electronic set that I use that gets plugged into Superior Drummer 3. And what I do is I'll sometimes record like I program a whole bunch of the drums and send them over to Morton, so he has a sense of what I'm hearing in my head when I'm writing the songs, but I say to him, like, just you do what you do, because you're a considerably better drummer than I am. So I will use these to kind of come up with little rhythms as well as programming some of the drums as well. And then the final thing, of course, is look at that, the big logo. Got that produced at a local sign shop and put up there. And that's it. So thank you for taking a look at my studio. I hope you found this reasonably interesting. And that's it. Talk to you soon.